that the text messages sent on Signal discussing battle plans to strike Houthi targets in Yemen, that those texts may have caused the U.S. long-term damage to gather intelligence on the group. CNN's Katie Bo-Lillis is here with us with this new reporting. Katie Bo, what are you hearing?
Yeah, John, so up until now, we've been talking about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's texts to this Signal thread, talking about operational details of these strikes against the Houthis as really sort of the most concerning information that was made public that would normally be very, very classified under sort of normal U.S. government procedures. But my colleague Zach Cohen and I talked to a number of current and former U.S. officials who said there were two other texts in this thread from other officials that were equally concerning for slightly different reasons. One of them was from CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who in the part of the discussion about whether or not to delay these strikes, sends a text to the group where he says, look, if we delay, and I'll quote, that will give the CIA better time to, quote, better identify better starting points for coverage on Houthi leadership. This pretty clearly, according to our sources, indicates that the CIA was doing overhead surveillance on Houthi targets. This is not something that is in and of itself surprising, but offering the Houthis sort of a clear breadcrumb to figure out how the U.S. was surveilling them might allow them to avoid that surveillance in the future. Then in a second text from National Security Advisor Michael Waltz later in the thread, he tells the group after the strikes are done that the U.S., quote, had positive ID of a particular senior Houthi leader, quote, walking into his girlfriend's building. This, again, really kind of draws a roadmap for Houthi militants in terms of how the U.S. was conducting surveillance on their movements, on their leadership, again, making it easier for Houthi leaders to potentially avoid that kind of surveillance in the future. This is why, according to our sources, this kind of information is normally kept deeply, deeply classified. Now, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, as well as the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and other senior Trump administration officials really emphasizing no sources and methods in here, nothing classified. According to our sources, not only is that a bit unlikely, but maybe is a semantic debate at the end of the day. As one of our sources put it, the Houthis have always been difficult to track. Now you just highlight for them that they're in the crosshairs, John.
Yeah, this seems to get to the, quote, methods in the sources and methods phrase there. Katie Bo-Lillis, thank you so much for that new reporting.
Classified or not, a federal judge has now ordered the Trump administration to preserve all of the messages top officials sent within that Signal chat about the attack on Houthi targets in Yemen.